Hello and welcome to Hurtworld A Noob's Guide Part 1, Setting Up Shop. This is going to be the first part of a Noob's Guide series I'm going to do for Hurtworld, and this particular video is going to be aimed at showing you how to get a house quickly and how to get it set up and working and get your basic equipment set up and upgraded as quickly as possible. The overall footage I took was 2 hours long. I'm going to edit it down and cut out a lot of the running around and fluff. The first thing you'll want to do upon spawning is pick up all the little pebbles and twigs along the beach. You need these because they drop the materials you'll need to craft your basic stone hatchet and your basic stone pickaxe. Without those, you're literally just going to run around and be cannon fodder for other players. It's worth mentioning at this point that you have a chance to find an earth magnet which will enable you to build a compass later on. Now, if you find one, you need to keep hold of it and don't discard it on the floor. If anything, you would probably be better off discarding other items if your inventory fills up. But in order to craft the tools you will now need to progress, you hit Tab, then click on the Handcraft button, then Tools, and then you should be able to find your stone hatchet, which will allow you to harvest the wooden logs that are on the floor, like you've seen just there, and these resource nodes with the stone pickaxe, like you can see here. Depending on the colour of the resource node you mine will depend on the type of resource you gain. This one provides limestone and clay, which you need to produce concrete and a couple of other items. Your next goal should be to find amber, and the only way you can find amber is by harvesting all of the resource nodes in the area. It has a chance to drop from any of the logs, which you will use a hatchet to harvest, and anything which requires a pickaxe to harvest. Amber is incredibly important. You will need it to craft a claim stake, to claim an area to build a house on. You will need it to upgrade your tools to make harvesting faster, and you'll also need it for 1 or 2 weapons. Once you have managed to find your amber, the next thing you want to do is craft a workbench. This is how you upgrade your items and craft better items, and also how you craft a backpack, which you will need to get as soon as possible once you've started to upgrade some of your other items. The eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that I've not mentioned anything about crafting a spear, and much in the same as Rust, I don't think the spear is worth the time, the effort, or the resource that you put into it. As I have just clearly displayed to you, a stone hatchet will do the job of killing a Bambi very quickly, and it will drop resources for you. The Bambi can drop only 2 items, and it will drop random 2 items out of a possible 3. It'll either drop leather, animal tendons, which you use to make string, or a raw steak. So you want every time you see one early on in the game, you want to kill it. Once you've managed to gather enough raw iron, you're going to want to smelt it down to iron bars as quickly as possible. So what you're going to do is you're now going to craft a campfire, and what you do is once you've deployed the campfire, you take the wood out and then you put coal in. This will cook at a higher temperature. Little tip, anything that can burn and produce heat, when you hover your mouse over it, will tell you what its maximum burn temperature is. Anything that can be burnt into another item, like smelted down or converted to another resource, it will tell you at what temperature that needs to burn at. So I'm just saving you a bit of time here to find out. Don't bother trying to smelt it using wood, it's a waste of time. Just simply stick the coal in and use the coal. Another tip while we're on the topic of tips, hold down shift and then click the item in your inventory to move it either out of your taskbar into your inventory or vice versa, or from your inventory to the workstation or vice versa, that will move the whole stack in one go. Control will split the stack. So, nice little tip for you, that'll save you having to work that one out. Now, once you have your iron tools, gathering will become a lot quicker, and you can worry about making a bow and making a backpack. For that you will need string, so you will need to go hunt down Bambis. So another reason as to why you don't actually need to worry about the spear at all, because it is completely redundant as soon as you get the bow anyway. And as we've seen, a stone hatchet can kill a Bambi fairly quickly, and the stats for an iron axe are a lot higher, so yep, it will kill a Bambi even faster, as long as you smack it in the head and don't let it bite you. Unlike Rust, Hurtworld is actually trying to kill you, the world itself. When it's not busy trying to freeze you to death, it will either try to irradiate you to death, poison you to death, or burn you to death in the heat. And that's that little blue bar you can see above my hunger and health in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. Obviously the best way to get rid of that is to deploy a campfire. Now with campfires, once you've ignited them you can't extinguish them, and if you remove the fuel source it'll eventually go out, and when it does go out it'll disappear. So that's worth remembering. If you want to keep it going you have to keep it topped up either with coal or wood. If you are cooking with wood, it takes a little bit longer than it does with coal, but you get a bit more leeway if you're not looking at it. Whereas if you put your raw steak in with coal, once it's cooked you get something like 5 seconds before it's burnt and turns to ash. So that's also worth remembering. You can cook with coal, but it requires you to be a little bit more vigilant. Okay, so we're now at the stage where we have iron tools, and we now need to consider what to do from here. The first thing I always do at this point is check to see whether I have enough for a backpack or whether I have enough for a bow. It's preferable, given the option, to go for the bow over the backpack, because the bow is more useful, and seeing as it is a tool, once you die, as long as it is on your taskbar, as I said earlier, I think, you don't lose it. Also, you can kill stuff at range a lot quicker and highly more efficiently, and then you'll be able to get your backpack within 2 or 3 minutes. So just a quick recap, we've now got our iron tools, we've now got our bow and arrow, and we're now about to craft our backpack, which will stay on us even if we die. However, the items inside the backpack, if we are to die, we will drop. Doesn't matter what those items are, we will drop them. The only items, like I've said before, that you can keep are the tools in your taskbar and the clothes you are wearing, unless you have killed another player and are infamous. I can't stress that enough, because I just know somewhere along the line some idiot's going to watch this and just be like, and completely forget that I've said that within 5 minutes. So that's that done. We're now on to the next stage. We're now going to want to start finding more amber, so we're back to mining the hell out of absolutely everything we come across. There's 2 reasons why we need amber. One of those is the construction hammer, which you can see I have cut out the whole process of me finding the amber and, crafting it. It's on my taskbar, it's the last item on my taskbar. You need the construction hammer to build or destroy objects you have created. It's also incredibly useful for picking up fire pits. Now, like I said before about the campfire, when it runs out it disappears. The fire pit does not. That means you can destroy it as an object and you can carry it as an item. You can also do this with workbenches. So once you've got a hammer, you can save yourself some materials and time by simply destroying the items you've come across. The other reason why we need a amber at this stage is for a claim stake. So we're now moving on to the stage of survival where we are going to be looking for somewhere to live and basic construction tips from this point onwards. So hopefully you've managed to keep up with what I was saying. I know that I cram a lot in a very short space of time, but with any luck this should help you build a house and survive from this point on. So what I'm doing here is I am crafting as much concrete as I can. Now, because obviously I've been mining all of the resource nodes I have come across at this point, I have got quite a bit of stone, I've got quite a bit of wood, and I've got quite a bit of limestone and some other items. Now, the concrete is needed for foundations only. So without concrete, you're not going to build a house. This point in the game and its current build, the materials you choose to use for the exterior construction of the building, however, doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference because C4 is very hard to come by and apparently everything is completely resistant to melee and bullet damage, as far as I'm aware. That doesn't mean, you know, I'm going to run around building it out of fucking twigs. I am still going to build my house out of stone because it's good practice just in case they ever decide to change this. Also, wood is used for pretty much everything. So it's kind of hard to... The further on you get in the game, the more rare wood becomes and the more you need it. So I don't want to waste it. Stone is something that you will come across quite a lot of. So I don't really want to waste my wood at this stage. Owing to my immediate need for shelter at this point, I have decided to build a house right here. So now you're going to see a little bit of the construction. Now you'll notice these blue lines in the background. Those are important. Don't build over them. Build inside them. The entire map is a giant grid, and your claim stake will claim that grid for you. Now, that's quite important because if you build over a line, it has a certain amount of time before it decays without a claim stake. So if you've got one claim stake in your building, and it is in one half of the building, and a wall or part of the building goes over that blue line into the next building, then anything outside of the initial square where your claim stake is prone to decay. Now, because obviously the walls don't have hit points at this stage in the build, then what happens is obviously it will just simply, you'll wake up one morning and it will have vanished. It took me about a week to figure this one out, so I'm saving you guys some time here. Now, once you've put down your concrete foundations, you can press and hold F and you've got all of the construction options at your disposal with the hammer equipped. So it's just a simple case of setting up your base as you like it. Now, the claim stakes are, they do just more than prevent your building from decaying. Depends on who has access to that claim stake, will depend on who respawns at that claim stake. It's also a respawn point. It also allows construction and demolition of placed items, objects, and walls for your house. And that's also obviously quite important because if you don't have a claim stake down and you run up to a house and you have a hammer, or someone else has a hammer, and they can just go F, remove object, destroy wall, walk straight in. And if you've got anything that's worth looting in a storage cupboard on the inside, it's gone. You know, and there's no point in crying about it because you didn't put down a claim stake. So, yes, amber is incredibly important because obviously without it you would not have the tools that you need to build a house. So earlier I said that we will need to keep as much wood as possible, and that's because we use the wood at this stage of the game to convert to wooden planks. and the wooden planks are used for building door frames, ceilings, and doors. Obviously, so people can't get into your house. And once you've kind of done that, you kind of think, well, I don't really need wood anymore. You would be wrong. Even once you've got guns, you will always need wood, because using an arrow is more effective at hunting for food and materials than using a gun. And I'll explain that in a later video if you haven't already worked that one out. Once you've finished the construction of your house, you're going to move on to the final stages of this video, and that will be looking for this stuff. Titranium, what fucking the red ore. You're looking for the red ore, okay? It looks slightly different to the other resource nodes. It's more wide, it's more flat, it takes longer to mine. This you need to upgrade your iron pickaxe. Now, before you saw me use a stone pickaxe, then craft an iron pickaxe and discard it. From this point on, you no longer discard the item you want to upgrade. It is actually a key material in the next stage of the upgrade. So once you're back at your house, you're going to need to smelt the red ore down, and you'll notice I have some mouldy fruit. All the orongs you see lying around the place, you're going to want to start picking them up once you're at this stage, and then storing them back at your base in a cabinet like I have. Any of the bark you have managed to find on your travels, you can burn that down to ash. You can also burn down excess amounts of meat to ash. You can burn down wood to ash as well if you need it. But I prefer to use the bark because it has no other value as a resource. You combine that with the mouldy fruit and you will get yourself gasoline, or petrol if you're English. That you can then use to smelt down the red ore. Now, it does say it caps the petrol temperature at 900, but something I have noticed is that even though it's capped at 900, you can still use it to smelt up to 2000 degrees. As long as you have a fire pit nearby with coal in it and turned on. You can also use a neat little trick of sticking a cabinet next to the fire pit like I have, and if you put food in there, it'll either cook or it will burn. So you don't need to use the fire pit for anything other than coal and iron ore. And the reason why you still want iron ore at this stage of the game is because you're going to find less and less flint this far out from the spawn zone. And whereas before the wood and flint would give you 5 arrows, the iron and wood you will find will give you 10 arrows. So the yield is much higher, and it is also a much more common resource at this end of the game. And in my next video, hopefully, you'll see a little bit more of that. Sorry that this video is slightly longer than it normally would have been if it was, say, a Rust guide, but I'm still finding my feet with this game, and I decided to fit as much in for the opening video as humanly possible. And I will do a second video follow-up to this to getting firearms and more advanced equipment very soon, I hope. Thanks for watching, guys, if you made it this far.